Great Expectations. How many of you have read Charles Dickens' novel, Great Expectations? Most of you. I had to read it in high school, and then I had to read it again in college. Wow. I worked and worked and worked. It was the most boring, depressing thing I had ever read. You know, the reason I think it was so boring and depressing is that Pip just, nothing ever really worked out that well for him. He had all these high hopes and great expectations. And the novel actually has two endings. In 1861, the first ending was Pip and Estella both got old apart. And then 8 years later, in 1869, he put a different ending on it where they hooked back up and lived happily ever after. And I guess it took me 50 years to figure out the profundity of that piece of work. Dickens has a wonderful knack for being able to paint a picture with words and prose and metaphor. You're just right there. You become part of it. But I think that for me, I never got the message. And I think the message, and it's just my opinion, I could certainly be wrong, but I think the message of Great Expectations is the only good stuff that ever happened to that young man and old man all through his life was the things he did not expect, the unexpected. Every time he had great expectations, the only thing that happened was disappointment and agony and sorrow and pain. And isn't that true for each one of us? I think it was Will Rogers said that the only thing you can absolutely count on with another person is at some point they're going to disappoint you and let you down, and you can count on that. And it has nothing to do with what that other person does or does not do. It has only to do with your expectation of that other person. How many times do we block abundance, block good things from happening to us? I'm expecting a white Chevy truck to pull in my yard, a brand new one, and I'm expecting it. And in that expectation, I didn't look in the mailbox and find out that Toyota and Ford were having a sale that could save me a ton of money. But my expectation kept me from receiving what was out there for me to receive. My attachment to an outcome of an expectation has blocked most of the good stuff that may have happened in my life, most of the abundance from coming into my life, because I was expecting something else. You know, I love it when I see young people come here. And I see these young parents with their children. And I wish there'd have been a place like this when I was a kid or a parent. Because I see these parents, these young parents, Steve and Heather and Stephanie and Ian. And they bring their children, and I watch them parent, and I think back to my parenting days. And I watch them nurture and embrace their children and encourage their children. But I don't see so much of them imposing their personal expectations on their children. I did. And a lot of parents do. And it seems like we We want to encourage our kids, but deep down, there's something inside of us. We want our kids to be able to do and have stuff we couldn't. So we plant these expectations. What makes us think they are our children, they are living in our environment that we're creating by all of our past experiences? What makes a parent think that they are not going to experience the same kind of disappointments and exclusions based on these expectations? They say, if you're helping somebody out and have any expectation of receiving something for it, you're actually doing business. You're not being kind. And how many times do we catch ourselves? Well, if I do this, then I'll have that. Expectation. And if it doesn't turn out, we're so attached to this outcome. If it doesn't turn out, then we've got the disappointment. We expect so much of other people. We expect from our government. We expect from doctors to have outstanding health care. We expect for teachers to teach our children and to teach us magnificent, profound information. We expect justice and equality from all of the systems that we have in place in our society. But society is not conducive to acceptance. Society kind of teaches expectation. I talked about literature, having literature class in college and literature in high school. I wonder if, outside of a literature major, I wonder if they even teach literature anymore. I think society is so focused on teaching technology and sports and self-indulgence. And it's up to us, each one of us, to teach each other and remind each other and help each other accept, to think, to respond rather than to react. We live in a very reactionary society. Something happens where we're supposed to be mad or afraid. That's not a response. That's a knee-jerk. If we could see things happening around in our community and in our lives, and stop and think, what's the cause, what's the effect, and what would a possible solution be? And respond in that fashion instead of just being mad or afraid, or just judging somebody. There's one other type of expectation that I think has the most negative result, and that's the expectation of our own self. We expect ourselves to be this or do that or have this or go here, and it doesn't happen. And we have great disappointment. And it starts when we're kids. And those disappointments, those falling short of our expectations, don't you think that maybe that could be why so many people in our society get hooked up on drugs or booze or eat compulsively or become antisocial because they fell short of their own expectations of themselves. You all expect something from your minister? No pressure. You know, through a unbelievable stroke of luck, just abundance just kind of flopping in swings, and we have this little video camera over here. And I'm so happy that we can have a message every week, go out on Facebook and on our website, where if somebody misses, they can catch up, or maybe somebody in the community isn't quite sure what they do in that place. That place where the heathens hang out on Sundays. And I love it. But then I watch these things more than once. And I come up with this question. I need to ask you, how do you stay awake? The last two, my own expectation. Am I expecting me to be like a Billy Graham or a Bishop Sheen or a Barack Obama or Bill Clinton? I'm just me. And I'm no different than you. Each one of us comes here every Sunday with the intention of sharing what we can share, both giving and receiving, and putting forth some due diligence to enrich our own personal life and the lives of the other people in our community. We come here with the intention of raising our conscious level, raising our level of awareness and understanding just that much. It's worth the trip. I think so, and you must think so too. When we focus I think that we mess up so much of our lives because of that little picture inside of our brains that shows us how things ought to be instead of how they are. I'm talking down pretty much on expectation today, but I'm going to give you an expectation that I think might be safe, that you can take home with you today. You may take home the expectation of transformation when you begin to exchange expectation for acceptance. When you begin to exchange expectation for appreciation, transformation will occur. I promise you. Let's try to accept who we are. We're not right or wrong, dumb or smart. We're human beings. We're having this fantastic experience called life. And if it's based on expectations and plans and based on destination and outcome, we miss the joy of the journey. We miss what we learn from suffering and mistakes and decisions that didn't work out so well for us. And all of these things that happen in this life experience, they put the fabric in it. They put the texture in it. They allow us to experience feelings and emotions. They allow us to discover ways that we can be more kind and more acceptant and more loving to people. Expectation. Let's trade off a major portion of it for acceptance and appreciation. I think life will be richer for all of us. And I think that's the truth.